Today we're going to talk about how to set up the Pennsylvania Early Warning System for automatic upload to the PA Department of Education. If you have downloaded this update from the MMS website, you go to the Pennsylvania EDR Operations menu in MMS Generations, and there's an option for Configure Automated Export Agent. All you have to do is set up the different tabs depending on the exports you want to upload. On the General Setup tab is where you set up each school to be uploaded for PA EWS, along with the file location where the export will be saved, the school year, and the district code. The grid on the screen is initially blank the first time you come to this page. The Add option allows you to add each school, like in this example, I'm looking at the high school, the middle school, and 2 elementary schools that I'm setting up for the current school year. You'll see that each school has a different school code assigned. And then for each school, you can choose which exports you want to set up for the automatic upload, for example, attendance, student, and staff. You'll also notice there are some save options on the right-hand side. You can choose to save at any time through the setup process, or you can also choose to save and exit, or exit without saving changes you've made. We typically recommend that you might want to save as you move from tab to tab for the setup. So after the General Setup tab, you go to the other tabs depending on the exports that you want to set up. There are options to set up exports for term, student, attendance, staff, course, and discipline. The setup and mapping of MMS codes to EWS codes is the same process as it was before, except now the exports will upload automatically once they are configured. And we'll take a look at each of the tabs. Let's start with terms and student options. All you have to do is choose the school and then map the MMS term codes to the EWS term codes for each school. And notice you still have the same available options to select depending on the groups and types of students you want to include in the export. For attendance setup, you choose either specific days for the export to occur or allow the export to occur every time the upload happens. Then you map the MMS attendance codes to the EWS attendance codes. For the student setup, you choose the export frequency again, and then the contact and phone number to export. For the staff setup, you choose the export frequency as well as whether you want to export security staff. And again, you make these selections for each school. For the course setup, you'll notice there are 4 tabs, one for the general setup that notes the export frequency, along with which courses are to be included. For grades, you need to map the MMS grades to the EWS grade codes. For grade plans, you map the grade plan to the marking period and also indicate which grade plan applies to the final marking period grade. For course attendance codes, you map the MMS attendance codes to the EWS attendance codes. And again, a reminder that this process and mapping needs to be done for each school. You'll also notice that the mapping looks like the same kind of mapping that was previously done for the manual exports in MMS, which makes it much easier to set up since it's a familiar process. Discipline setup is similar to what we've seen thus far. You set up the frequency of the export at the general setup. You map the MMS infraction codes to the EWS infraction codes. You map the MMS action codes to EWS action codes. And then the last tab is for the web services. Here you'll enter the web service URL, which you can also find in the MMS documentation. And then other than the school year, the rest of the information for this tab is received from PDE. And of course you'll want to save and exit once the setup is complete. So then what happens? There's much more detail about the files and formats created that you can find in the MMS documentation, but basically the export will create the files needed by the dashboard, turn it over to the state, and then the state will reply with a response. So the only other thing that you would want to do is set up the export through the Windows Task Scheduler, and then your configuration information for the automated export should be complete.